Welcome back to Living Local, combining timeless music with wit, charm, and storytelling. Our next guest performs a selection of his favorite standards from the Great American Songbook while interweaving stories about his life, his career, and personal connection to the music.
And here to tell us about his life in show business and his solo act standards and stories is the one and only Tony Danza. Tony, thanks so much for taking the time to talk to us today.
Thank you, Brandy. It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure, Brandy. How are you guys? You all right?
We're doing all right.
Doing well, doing well.
How's Davenport? I know that you had some flooding. I know the Mississippi came up, I guess, right?
A little bit, yeah. We're doing okay, though.
Yeah, they're starting to take down the barriers, so good news for us.
Yeah. I remember when I was in college in Dubuque, they made us go down and sandbag. They recruited all the kids from college, and we all went down and sandbagged.
So, hey, Tony, many of us came to know you through two iconic sitcoms, Who's the Boss and Taxi. So what's it like to know that your legacy lives on?
Well, it's funny, Taxi, you mentioned Taxi. We the cast and crew, I was with four of them this week. Chris came to my show Saturday. I was playing the Carlisle last week here in the city. So Chris came to my show with his wife, Lisa, and then Chris Lloyd. And then Carol got back into town on Sunday. And who else was with it? Oh, and Judd and his wife. Judd Hirsch and his wife came in. And so we all got together Sunday at my friend's restaurant on Columbus Avenue. He's got a band out there. It was a beautiful day.
Yeah.
Who's the Boss, on the other hand, now, Who's the Boss was the greatest fun 8 years you could imagine.
Yeah.
We laughed from Monday to Friday when we did the show. And Judith was the most incredible, Alyssa, and of course the great Catherine Hellman and Danny. I mean, it was just a wonderful, and if that's my legacy, that's pretty good, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you're one of our comedic icons, of course, but you've also worked with some greats, including two of my favorites. You mentioned Christopher Lloyd and Andy Kaufman. These two men are geniuses, and I was wondering, what were your biggest takeaways from working with them?
Well, first of all, let's go with Andy first. Andy, Andy was such an enigma. When he first came on the show, when we first got together, I didn't understand. I didn't get him. We were all a team, and he meditated in his car, and he didn't like to rehearse. And we had a guy that played Andy to rehearse with us. He knew Andy's cadences. Andy only came in twice a week. He came in for the run-through on Tuesday, and then he came for the show on Friday, and never made it to the gag reel because he never made a mistake.
Wow.
Oh.
And there's a scene that I think really shows when Andy turns into Vic Ferrari on camera, where he totally changes into another character in front of your eyes. I mean, he was just brilliant, and it just took me a long time to figure that out.
Yeah.
But he really was a brilliant guy. Chris, let me tell you something about Chris Lloyd. Lloyd is maybe the sweetest, most endearing, gentle. I mean, he is just, and then on top of that, when you work with him, you look in his eyes, you see somebody. There's somebody behind there. He's not thinking about his lines. You're just he's with you. And, when he first came on the show, Chris doesn't talk much. He's shy. You got to get him. So what I did was I tried to make him part of the family. So we had these cubicles. I'll tell you the truth. I was telling him this story on one of them, see if he remembered. We had these cubicle dressing rooms in the back of the stage, little tiny little square dressing rooms. And his was across the hall from mine. So what I did was I invite him into my dressing room, or I would go into his dressing room, and I would just try to talk, and he wouldn't talk. So I would end up doing all the talking. So finally, after a few times of doing this, I decided, I got it. I'm not going to talk either. So I would go into his room, or I would invite him to mine, and we would just sit there. And I'm determined not to say anything until he says something. And of course, he doesn't say anything. Every once in a while, he does this to you. But little by little, he comes out, and he's one of the most magnificent actors on that show. The people, Danny, Mary Lou. I mean, everybody's so good. That's the thing,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And fans of your film and television work may not know that you're a song and dance man, having appeared in Broadway, in The Producers, which I actually saw you in, and Honeymoon in Vegas. Was that always something on your radar? And if we can, then kind of segue into your show Standards and Stories.
No. So what haven't I done that I want to do? And one of those things was really I wanted to be a song and dance man. I just it's always been something that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I used to watch those guys. I love the fact that you can just get up and sing. You can just get up and dance. You can just, and so I started, I wrote a show. I got another guy to help me with it. I got the great Walter Painter, who was this great production director guy, and we put a show together. And I've gotten to a point now where it's just a gift. I can't wait to go up there. Please let me go.
Yeah.
And it may be the place where I'm most happy. Because you really have to be in the moment when you're up there.
Yeah.
And so the show that we're doing now, it's called Standards and Stories, and it's the best thing I've ever written. I mean it. I've written a lot of stuff, but this one is really, really fun. That's John in the background too, by the way, John. But it's what I like to characterize it as is, do you remember the old style variety shows that used to be on TV?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's what this is like. It's like, only thing is I'm the host and all the act. I'm everything, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so what you get by coming to the show is you're not just coming to hear a guy sing or a guy dance, you get that. But there's also laughs. And I think that's the most important thing. I think people have to laugh. And then sit back and when you hear these four guys that I got playing for me, you're not going to believe it. I mean, I'm so lucky. I mean, and by the way, I tell people all the time when I'm doing the show, anybody else got a band? Oh, you got to get a band. It's fun.
Well, it does. It sounds like a great show, Tony. Definitely looking forward to it. And thanks for taking the time to.
Thanks so much,
Tristan, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
I can't wait to be back in Iowa.
Yes.
I'm there in October in Dubuque, because I'm a graduate from the university.
Yep.
So I'm excited to be back.
Well, we're excited to have you. Thank you.
All right. Thanks for the time, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Have a nice day.
And you can catch Tony's show here in the Quad Cities on May 13th at the Rhythm City Casino. And you can learn more about Tony Danza, Standards and Stories, and where you can find his show coming to a city near you. Just go to TonyDanza.com.
We'll have all those details posted at ourquadcities.com.